First Corinthians 10 and verse 31 is what it says. It says, so whether you eat or drink or whatever you do it all for the glory of God. Do not cause anyone to stumble, whether Jews, Greeks, or the church of God, even as I try to please everyone in every way. For I am not seeking my own good, but the good of many, so that they may be saved and follow me, my example, as I follow the example of Christ. This is the words of Paul, and Paul himself mentions so categorically and mentions very clearly that whatever you do it for the glory of God. And this is what he says. He says, whether you eat or whether you drink. I think this is one of the most important word in our day-to-day lives as we follow Christ. And it's so important that we get to understand what it means, in what it means by Paul saying whatever you do. When he says whatever you do, he says anything that you do, whether you sleep, whether you go for a jogging, whether you sit in that office, whether you watching that movie, whether you are listening to that song, whether you're going to a party, or whether you're calling somebody, or whether you are resting, or whether you are traveling. But Paul says everything you do, whether you eat or drink. Those are just examples, but I think it goes farther than that. It's much broader than that. And Paul even says whatever he does for God's glory, and also for the good of the church, or for the good of the body of Christ. And I don't know how many of us look at ourselves and we begin thinking, how am I doing? Everything that I'm doing every day, am I glorifying God? Am I lifting God with my interactions with people, with my discussions with other people, with my posts on Facebook, my posts on Instagram? But Paul says whatever you do, whether you eat or drink, whether you meet up with friends at a certain joint, but he says whatever you do it for the glory of God. Now, one of the things that we need to understand here is that when it mentions for the glory of God, remember the word glory is attached to God himself. When you look at God, who he is, his transcendence being, him being holy, being righteous, and when he talks about do it for the glory of God, because we know God himself, his expectation for us is that we may walk in righteousness, walk with him, serve him, exalt him, and follow his ways in each and everything that we do. But the world's standards are so different. The world's standards are so different in a way that we have to talk, we have to walk. they both have to match each other. Talking and walking with God, they both have to match each other. If they don't match each other, then we risk the challenge of not glorifying God. And Paul says this, that everything that he does it to glorify God. And my challenge to you this very day is that you look at your surrounding and everything that you're doing and ask yourself this question: is it glorifying God? Is it glorifying God? Whatever you're doing in your surrounding, is it those friends that you meet up with? Is it these places that you go to hang around? Is it this phone call that you make? Is it those posts that you have on your Instagram, on your Facebook, on your Twitter? Whatever you do, is it that movie that you're watching that you know it will lead you astray? Is it that song that you're listening to that it will lead you astray? But Paul makes it quite clear, and he says, whatever you do, be it drinking or eating, do it for the glory of God. And Paul, when he mentions this, his heart is in a position whereby he wants to glorify God, not only for his own sake, but also for the body of Christ. An example is like this: if you work for a certain company, everything that you do represents that company. Now, the same way as a believer, if you walk with God, you representing God in each and every place that you go, each and every environment that you are in. You represent God no matter what it looks like. So may God help you. May God help us to glorify Him today with each and everything that we do. Because whatever we do it unto the Lord. And whatever we do, let's do it to glorify God Himself. Because at the end of it all, it's all about Him. It's not about us. It's about Him. It's not about us. So may God bless you even as you ponder these words today. Bye-bye. Enjoy your cup of coffee.